So yesterday's we ended up with the outer cut offset. As you can see there, that should be inside this line, but it's not. And also these holes should be evenly spaced from this cutout. I think what happened when I started it off, I had the Z offset wrong, so it started to cut some of these internal cuts, and when I stopped it I restarted it from that point and it crashed into the work, and I think it might have lost some steps on the y-axis as it did it, which I hadn't noticed at the start, unless you've got a reference point, say like this, where you've got an internal cut versus the external cut, so you can clearly see it's offset to one side. It's hard to see it's gone wrong until it's too late, really. But we've learnt something. The cuts today have been going well, but it's just a bit of an update on why I think it went wrong yesterday. There was another reason. It could have been I was recording with a GoPro with a separate battery pack, and as it was moving, the gantry was moving down, it knocked the battery pack, and it kind of it skipped over it, so it's possible it lost some steps there. But either way, we live and learn. So yeah, I'm going to run a test again with the 3mm thick formers and frames for part of the wing on this Comet that I'm building. This dark red outline is the size of the ply. The squared area is the cutting area for the machine, and this layer here that I've just added is the size of the plywood. I've just put that in so I can position all the bits to be cut within that area. Also I've done some of the bits this time, so it only takes up half a sheet, so when we run a test, if it all goes wrong again, we haven't wasted as much ply. But yeah, so that's all I've done. I've linked the save settings for the laser power, speed, the kerf offset, which is basically the thickness of the laser. That's cutting outside on the external black lines, and then the internal cuts, it's cutting inward. It does make a difference. It's not a very thick cut, but it's worth doing the offset. So these are all set here. Initial one, the first one, C20, is the engraving for the lettering. Second one's the internal cut. Third one's the external cut. They've got tabs set on them. So if I go to external cut, the tabs and bridges is set. So the tab setting is automatic. I should be able to see that. If I go on this one, there you go. So if I click on that, each of these green blobs is a little tab that once it cuts through, it will stop cutting for 0.5 millimeter at each of these points to keep the frames attached to the whole sheet so they don't drop out during the cut. Because if they drop out, especially these smaller bits, and partially fall through the honeycomb bed, they can poke up and they can catch the laser as it's moving to other areas. So it's worth doing them, and then they simply pop out once you're done. So I'm going to save this and put it on my computer that controls the laser, and I'll see you down by the laser. Right, so 2 foot by 4 foot ply is a bit too long for the bed, so I'm just going to mark it up. I'm going to chop 15 centimetres off, just so it fits in, and then we can tuck it under with these 3D printed clamps to hold it down. Sometimes it might be flat enough, but some of the wood's warped, so it just stops it being raised up from the bed, which will affect the focus of the laser or distance to the focus point. So right, we'll get this chopped and then we'll get it in. So it doesn't really need clamping, it's laying pretty flat, so I'm just going to make sure it's parallel with the side,
and then we'll get set up to cut. So home the machine before we start. Right. So then we need to find the origin point for all this work. So if we go to origin, God knows where that's taken it, I need to stop that. Right, go back home. Right, so then I'm going to move this. To a point where it starts on the wood. You can see you've got a little laser pointer there, which is quite useful for getting its position. So, as that's now on the wood, you can see there's a little red dot, which gives you the position of the machine reference to the work. So if I say set origin, and then we can frame, and that then runs round where the work's going to be. So you can make sure it's all within the piece of wood, which is quite useful. So while that's doing that, the cats come to help. Hello, Maggie. Hello. They like to help. Right, so that's good. So we'll stop that and we'll go to origin. That should take us back to the top left corner, which is what we've set in here. Job origin, top left corner selected. So we'll just check the settings and then we can run the job, hopefully. Right, so I think we're ready to go. Everything's set. Let's try it. Hopefully it'll turn out alright. Check the extractors on. Yep, fan's running all the way to the door. So first process is all the lettering of the parts. So well, we'll see. We'll come back in a bit, see how it's getting on. I'm not sure my tabs are good enough because that one's topped out. Let's see, I've just done a few more. So total job time was about 32 minutes. When I did some cutting yesterday, that turned out fairly accurate. So I'm sure it will be today, we shall see. Okay, so it's finished cutting. A few adjustments to be made. The tabs, I don't think the tabs were big enough, or maybe they weren't selected, or I don't know, I have to have a look at that, but a lot of the little bits from the inside have fallen out, but the cuts look good, so I would say that was a success. Yeah, so the tabs haven't actually really done anything. Sure there's even any signs of tabs. Oh yeah, there is. I don't know if you can see that, but there's either maybe I need more of them. Change the power setting, not really sure. I'll have to have a look, but look good there. That feels like it's held in. Yeah, look, they are just hanging on. If you saw that, so let's try and do it with this one. So you can feel just holding in slightly on this one. Sure. Yeah, a little tiny bit there, but I just need to change the settings, I think. Reduce the power more for the tabs. Yeah, look, you can. Is that a tab, or is that just not quite cut through? I think the cutting, the actual power speed settings are alright. I just need to change the tabs. He says, as this one seems to have stayed in quite well. Maybe I'll drag the whole sheet out now. Sometimes you get bits where it's just not quite gone through, whereas 95% of the sheet would be fine. Maybe it's some hard bits of wood it's a bit harder than the other bits, I'm not sure. So this one's probably the worst bit. You just need to clean it up with some sandpaper or a knife, but you can just see it's not quite gone through. Bits still pop out, but it just leaves some little bits of stringing. But otherwise, looks good. Right, so we're back down at the laser. We've set up roughly the ply, the other half of the ply. So we're just going to check that it's within the boundaries of the cutting area. So if we go to the framing button, hit frame, it zooms the laser around the external frame of the window it's going to cut. And it's just within it there. As long as it clears this side, we should be good. Yep, it's just within. So that's good. So I think we're ready to go. So I've on the tab settings, I've reduced the power, so it cuts the power by 80% now for each of the tabs. And that was 30 on the last lot, and I don't think it was enough. It was still cutting most of the way through, which is why all the inside cuts just fell out. So we'll see how this goes. Right, so I think we're good to go. So we hit start. Should be wearing the goggles. Shut the lid, and I'll leave it to it. Hopefully, it'll turn out alright. So we've got some more help, along with the cat. She doesn't look much help. I think the dog just wants a bit of biscuit while we're waiting. Right, so the cuts look good. Tabs look better. Test to be picking it up. They still could do with being thicker. The idea is the bits don't fall out when you pick the sheet up. It's an improvement. It is an improvement. I think I might just, that was 80% power reduction for these tabs. So I might just make it 100% power reduction for the tabs. They pop out nice and easy there. Right. Cuts look good. I don't know, it's worked. I think it's just on the bigger stuff. Maybe I need to leave it like that, but just add some more tabs. So, and it's stayed in. It's cut nice. Yeah, I think that's good. Maybe on the internal bits, I'll just add a couple more tabs. But yeah, looks good. Pleased. Start with one hand. But yeah, they're popping out beautifully. Oops. I might keep the circles. Might find a use for those. Not sure what yet, but yeah. Looks good. So here's the results, and it's looking really good. Really nice, clean cuts. Not too charred with the. Just trying to get it focused there with the air assist. I'm trying to go through, trying to get it to cut through on as low a power as possible. Can't get it to focus. There we go. So you can see it's not really, a little bit charred, but not too charred. And this is probably the only bit that's not quite cut through. You can see just a little bit left there. I mean, it's still popped out all right, but that'll clean up easily with a bit of sandpaper. But this is 3mm laser ply. As you can see, some really fine cuts there, really clean. Lettering's all come out nicely. The size has turned out very well. So that 3mm cut out there. This isn't obviously the bit that's going to go in there, but just trying to do it with one hand. You can see it fits dimensionally. It's very accurate. As you can see, it's just enough of a gap to slide in, and then get some glue when I'm ready. But yeah, that goes together. But yeah, so if you're wondering what all these bits are, these are some of the bits for a de Havilland Comet 4 that I've been designing on and off for the last couple of years. It's going to be electric, 4 ducted fans, and about, I think it's about an 8-foot wingspan. So yeah, really pleased. Good results with the NEJE Max 4 for what I would need to use it for anyway. So yeah, good stuff.